Hey guys, Motor City Nerds here, and the power's been out for almost 2 days, so yeah. We're not going to let that stop us, because now I'm a candle review channel. Just so you guys know, I jumped on the Bath & Body Works candles from Halloween all early, and I got a couple of them, and I really love Ghoul Friend. I've been using it. It's very floral, but not super strong, and I do feel like a lot of their candles can come off super strong, and I'm not sponsored by them. That'd be really cool if I was, but I'm not. We're just gonna make this work. I only got one lantern, my other one went out. I think I literally just broke my lantern. Snarf? I think I hear my cat meowing. Pets, everybody, the show must go on. You guys ready to talk about this? I don't like that HBO is withholding the titles, if you guys haven't noticed. Like when it first drops, it just says episode 2. Which one's staying, which one's going? I can't have fights in the studio. Hobart, stretch it out. Snarf, you know I don't like it when you're behind my stuff. Jesus, this is just never gonna end. Power outages, pets. What else starts with a P that will distract me? Pot. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Am I supposed to say that? We were just gonna see if this lighting worked, and I hope it works. It feels like a fun little time, right? I feel like we're telling campfire stories. They were in the Great Sept, and all of the candles were up, and they were lighting them in the church. I was like, Jesus. Remember, my mom. This is what my mom's response was. I go, man. Do you know how many people probably, like how many things probably burned down back in the day? Like back in olden times when there was no light. Things were probably just burning to the ground. And then she was like, yeah, but everything was made of stone. And I was like, yeah, good point. But I was like, I wonder if people just, I guarantee you that was a common occurrence, was seeing somebody burst into flames. With the amount of, like their clothing. Like that had to be a common thing when you went to church back in the day. You'd be like, so-and-so, they were dicking around by the candles again. You see them, they walked out in a ball of flames. It had to be a common thing that went on. It was your light source. Like, people fall asleep with cigs and their houses burn down. And you're trying to tell me living by candlelight was safe? Come on. We're done rambling. It's time to get serious. We open up the episode with Corlys doing a bossy-ass entrance into the small council. He's yelling about the crab feeder. What a name, right? You really don't understand that until you see it. Then you're like, wow, that's pretty gross. And it really brings you back down to how brutal this world is, where in the first episode we were more like, oh, the Red Keep, dragons, remember, politics and swords, and now in this one we're like, oh yeah, remember this world is like super brutal and jacked up. And the other one had like the scene with Daemon and stuff, but I feel like it was more like, oh yeah, we're back, and now it's like, oh no, that reminds us of like the brutality of this world. But we have the Stepstones issue going on, which the Stepstones are always kind of an issue. Like I'll get into the Stepstones more in detail a little later on, but essentially, they are causing issues for port and money, and specifically in Corlys Valyrian's turf. And he's like, we got to handle this. And it's a problem. Normally, it's a big pirate area, but even that is becoming like an issue. Someone's doing stuff they shouldn't. And that's the crab feeder. That's going to be this guy. And some people are saying that he's going to be the main like antagonist. And I was like, if they really draw that out that long, I don't know if they can. Like, I don't know. I'm excited to see where they go with it. But either way, it's affecting the ports and the money and the trade that go on down on this part of Westeros. Not only that, there's some, essentially by doing what they're doing, the East, like where Arya was, like Bravos and all that, they're paying people, they're paying a group to go and do this, to poke holes and see, are you weak? Are you strong? They're essentially testing Westeros. And that's why he's like, we got to go down there and show all of our strength. All of them are opposed to it. The king's opposed to it. Everyone's opposed. They're like, we've never had open war with the East. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. The reason they don't want to do that is because they're scared of the Iron Bank. The reason Corlys Velaryon ain't scared of the Iron Bank is because Corlys Velaryon is like Tywin Lannister times a million. The dude is loaded. This guy has a ton of money. Then finally, out of the corner, we get what we're all saying. We have Rhaenyra saying, Dad, King, my lord, whatever, you have dragon riders. And then not only does she doesn't say send them, she says send us. She wants to go out and prove herself, which she brings up later in the episode, but she's saying like, I'll go do it. And that speaks volumes of who Rhaenyra is. And Corlys really respects that. He says, oh, look at it, even at least our princess wants to do something about it. And he likes that about her. And now we're going to start to see, even when she's young, which way some of these lords are going to lean when it comes down to it, when the Dance of Dragons happens. After that, King Viserys is like, well, how about you go help the Lord Commander pick out a new Kingsguard? Now, Kristen Cole, the guy she picks, he ends up being, he's a dirty sneak rat. But there's a reason he's a little cutie. Mom was like, oh my God, what a cutie pie. And I was like, yeah, no, he's cute, but He's got a really cool nickname too, but I don't want to give anything away to you guys. But yeah, he does some sneak rat stuff. But either way, I really like that they showed how political choosing the Kingsguard can be. Not only in this way, but like when Jaime Lannister was named to the Kingsguard, that was literally the Mad King giving Tywin the middle finger. He knows that when you're named to the Kingsguard, you cannot inherit lands, you cannot have children, and this is where you live and die, is by my side with, and that's it. And that's why a lot of second sons will be Kingsguard or like that, because you want them to inherit and stuff. And he knew that that would piss Tywin off. That was just one political way of being a petty asshole. But in this, they show all of them are sons of lords and are bigger and could be a better ally and are useful. And Rhaenyra thinks she did, just like her dad does at the end. She thinks, I did the right thing. I'm going with what I think is the smartest idea. This guy's seen battle. Let's have him. And she's not thinking like, oh, I should politically go, but then guess who's sneaking around? And look at his face. Dirty sneak rat. Otto Hightower, the Hand of the King, is sneaking around. And who notices it? The Queen who never was. Rhaenys notices it. So not only do you have Corlys in the council room making moves, you have Rhaenys, who's lived this life and been in the Red Keep longer than any of them, and going, yeah, okay. And she sees what's going on. And I think that's why she purposely goes out of her way to have a conversation with Rhaenyra later on, is because she sees that back and forth between Otto Hightower and Rhaenyra at the Kingsguard choosing. And Rhaenyra, like I said, she thinks she did this great thing. And the truth is, you kind of just thought he was cute. And the truth is, he probably is a really great choice. But politically, these other houses are going to they're going to take that as a slight. And maybe I made this up, but I watched it twice. But did anybody else notice that Otto Hightower nods when the Lord Commander goes to move Criston Cole's piece up on the board? He like nods at him, like he knows, like he's setting all this up. And who wouldn't think that Criston Cole was a cutie pie? You know what I mean? But either way, I think that was a bit of a setup. But I really did enjoy that they showed how political choosing the Kingsguard can even be. And let me preface this by saying, don't talk to teenage girls. That's weird. Don't talk to teenage boys. Don't talk to teenagers. That's fucking weird. If you're a grown-ass adult, don't talk to teenagers. That's creepy and it's weird. If you're somebody's dad and you're like, let me go hang out with my daughter's teenage friend, you're a weirdo. I don't know if anybody told you. You're weird. So let me preface everything with that. But we start to get to Alicent and Viserys becoming closer. Now, I felt like I always fall on she's more like Marjorie Tyrell side, but I don't mind the way they're depicting her, because a lot of people really love Alicent Hightower, and I'm like, no, I just, when I interpret it, she's a sneak rat raised by sneak rats. And I do feel like she is starting to make her own little plots the further we get into this episode, and I think that she genuinely means it when she tells Viserys, talk to your daughter, and I think she genuinely meant it when she told Rhaenyra, talk to your dad. And I think the kicker is that Viserys, if you just would have hung out with your daughter and not her friend and grieved, maybe all this shit wouldn't go down. But no matter what, everybody agrees, I think, that the relationship between Viserys and Alicent starts out very innocent and then becomes something more. So I do like that they're doing that, and I think they're doing that very well. And it makes him come off like you don't despise him. And it's like, okay, well, you're helping him through his grief and all this crap, and it's still weird. But either way, it's like, okay, I see what you're doing here. And it shows that, and all the way down to a 12-year-old girl, women don't matter. They're property. They're a thing to be used in a political gain or in like their property. That's it, point blank. Otto owns Alicent. He owns his daughter. King Viserys owns his daughter. One's creepier than the other, but that's true. Corlys is pissed when he's watching his daughter walk with King Viserys, and Rhaenys says outright, I don't like this. Of course I don't like it. But it's almost as if Alicent just accepts it. And even when she talks to, I did love them showing Viserys doing all the, like, his little hobby is this building things and, or the little models, and hearing him talk about Valyria, and it's like, these are things we, like, know but don't know. So it's really cool for book readers, and if you don't care, like, if you're just like, oh, okay. And I liked that, and I loved seeing that. It was so cool to see that model and be like, oh my god, this is awesome. And to hear somebody talk about it on screen, it was just cool. But after we get her and Viserys bonding more, and then he even says, you don't tell Rhaenyra about this, do you? Because what did I say in my last review? I was like, somebody would have talked. Like, I was a teenage girl not that long ago, and whether you don't, either you'd avoid your friend forever, because you'd be like, that's weird, I'm hanging out with your dad, or you'd say, man, they got me hanging out with your dad, and it's creepy, and it's weird, I'm sorry. Or you'd be like, this is just straight up weird. You would slip. You would tell your friend. Like, you would either slip or tell them on purpose or avoid them for the rest of your life, because that would be bizarre. And we get them in the Great Sept of Baelor, and we get Rhaenyra and Alicent there, and you can tell that Rhaenyra isn't a proper lady who doesn't go to the Sept all the time and do the religious stuff all the time. And she even says, like, how do you do this? I don't know how to do this. And Alicent says to her, if you're not going to light a candle for the gods or for us or for whoever, light them for our moms and just sit here and have a moment with them. And I feel like when Alicent is looking at Rhaenyra cry, it's like, wow, I'm watching my friend for the last time. Like, this is the last time we're going to be able to be friends. And she's being vulnerable and crying around me. Also, on her knees. When do we ever see a Targaryen doing that? We don't. They don't do that. So it's just like, this is a very vulnerable state. And I think that Alicent's like, she knows something big's about to go down. And maybe not exactly what, but she knows something big's about to go down. And she's like, I think it's very well done. And I really like that of her looking at her like, I think this is the last time I'm going to be with my friend. And yeah. So we have those moments with them in the Great Sept, but even then is when Alicent first gets defensive about Viserys and is like, he is going to have to get remarried. Like, she's already really thought about it, and it's like, oh, I wonder why. Maybe because you're being groomed by these adults, and it's gross. But either way, you've thought about it, and it was almost like I said, like she was defensive, and I didn't feel that way the first time I watched it through, and Rhaenyra stops and is like, okay, that's kind of a weird thing to say. You know, like, why do you care so much about my dad getting remarried? Like, I'm venting to you. Why did, and it's almost like Alicent snaps at her and then, like, reins it back in, because just like showing the religious stuff, Alicent is this perfect lady, I know how to act way. I'm proper, and Rhaenyra is not. I thought somebody was here to murder me. And of course, in the background, we have her dad snooping on everybody. He wants to know how Rhaenyra feels. He's lurking on the king, all that good stuff, being a sneaky, dirty rat. And I do think that Alicent is being genuine and good until she's not. And I do think she starts to plot and scheme a little bit. And she's like, I'm choosing this over my friendship. But it's also like, okay, well, I mean, that would make you safer. And like I said, I do think that she is, like, at least this will get me away from my dad type deal, which is sad and jacked up. But either way, I think it's going to get way more complicated than that, obviously. I just don't want to give things away. Very rarely in Game of Thrones or Westeros do we get scenes of a family, like, eating dinner and talking, and I really liked the back and forth between King Viserys and Rhaenyra. I really liked that. I thought that was a nice scene, and something we don't see that. It was still plotty, and it was still, oh no, you know, but we don't get to see that. And I thought it was kind of nice seeing a father-daughter be like, oh yeah, even though it gets shattered to pieces, I liked that. And I liked it even when she's like, I'm sorry that I spoke up. She like pulled a Prince Zuko, but instead of Agni Kaiing her, he was like, no, you'll learn, whatever, this and that, it's all good. And you can tell she still wants to prove herself, but he doesn't go like, yeah, no, I hate you for it. And they do bond over, and they make a point to show you, like, that both her and him miss her mom, his wife, his dead wife, and he's genuinely very sad to be widowed. Like, he loved his wife, and I think they do a good job with that. Him walking around with a 12-year-old, and yeah, it's weird, and yeah, it's supposed to be uncomfortable and strange. Corlys don't like it, Rhaenys don't like it, King Viserys don't like it, nobody likes it. They're like, this is creepy and weird, and I don't want to do this. But if you don't think they're trying to say something, you're wrong. Like, I always love that scene between Cersei and Oberyn Martell. And he says, down in Dorne, we don't hurt little girls. And she goes, all over the world hurts little girls. And it's like, and Oberyn doesn't argue that because he knows it's true. And it's super sad. And that applies to the real world, too. And the way they showed Rhaenyra, Alicent, they belong to their fathers. They're property. They are things to be used on a chessboard of life. They are not humans that can think and rule and do things. This little girl is not, she's a pawn to be used. And as much as her dad hates it, as much as her mom hates it, as much as the king is like, this is weird, I don't want to do this, and follows his heart at the end of the episode, it still obliterates things politically. Same thing with Rhaenyra and the Kingsguard. She followed, you're cute, and she does have a bit more of a leg to stand on with her argument, but politically, you shit on everything. And that's what King Viserys does this episode. But by showing that, it's like, no, and guess what? Face it, that still goes down. Child brides are still a thing, so help that, stop that from happening, that'd be cool. And that was a thing that was super common. They were like, yeah, go ahead, that's fine. Yeah, okay, so why don't we, boys and girls both, but why don't we protect little girls more? That would be, coming from somebody who was not underage that long ago, people are creeps. Not just men, people are creeps. Said when she was talking about like she's supposed to be like a little kid, and she's talking about, oh yeah, and how big did Vhagar get? It's like it's supposed to be like, oh my god, this is so sad. And even when he's like, what did your mom tell you? And she's like, that I don't have to lay with you till I'm 14. It's like 14 is considered old. Stop debating these things in the real world, please. I'm not gonna get into it, but please stop splitting hairs about things when people are kids. Like, just shut up. But like I said, that's the whole point. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to be like, oh my god, that's awful. And it's supposed to feel that way. And like I said, mom don't want it, dad don't want it, king don't want it, nobody wants that, but politically it was the smart thing to do. I like that they didn't shy away from that because, and I understand why you have to age people up. I've talked about this a ton on the channel. I've been thinking about making a solo video about it, but I understand why you had to age characters up in Game of Thrones. But in this, you didn't shy away from going like, no, this was a thing, and you did it in a way that's like, no, I don't think you glorified it or made it creepy. I think you handled it well, and it should be uncomfortable. You should be going, ew, don't do that. But here we go, guys. What did I tell you? Maesters, dirty, sneaky rats. They kept saying about sending letters to Old Town last episode. Weird. I thought it was very strange that the Maester, who was sticking that hand in maggots, I think John might be right. I think they might be doing something to the Iron Throne, and there might be something on it. But either way, Viserys is getting Dumbledore hands, right? And so they're like, oh yeah, stick it in these maggots, which is kind of making me sick. And then I was like, oh god. But that's really like what they're... Did you know, like, they think that, like, the real Robin Hood, like, the possible real Robin Hood in history, died of like bloodletting? And that's what I mean. Like, think about being back in the day where you died of like diarrhea and someone cutting you open and leaving you open for too long because we thought getting the quote bad blood out would work. Like, oh yeah, stick your hand in a bowl of maggots. Great, good time. Yeah, I'll be right there. It was like a real thing, but either way, it was making me sick. But somebody's doing something, and I think it's the Maesters. But then I thought it was odd that Maester agreed to have him marry Valerian over Hightower. But I think they're doing something to him. I think the Maesters and Otto Hightower, who are BFFs, there's tons of Maesters running around him, they're doing something to kill Viserys. Now, I don't know if it was a, like, reverse psychology to have that Maester say, like, yeah, get with her. But like I said, this is common sense. That's why that one lord says it. He's like, Corlys does a lot of things, and it sounds like he's shit-talking him at first, but he's just being honest. And then he's like, no, marrying her is the smartest thing you can do. And that's true. You need him more than he needs you. The only thing you have up on Corlys Valerian is you have dragons. But you want to know what? So does his wife. And eventually... so do his kids. Fun little thing is when she's asking him and she says, does anybody know where Vhagar has been nesting? And he says, some say on the east, in the east. And it's like, oh. And I know a lot of people, I didn't have this theory, but I know a lot of people have thought this, that Vhagar is the one who laid the eggs that eventually become Daenerys' dragons. So it's like the fact that they're saying that she's been nesting in the east is like, oh shit, laying eggs that we're going to find later on and become Drogon, Viserion, and Rhaegal. Oh my god. I wouldn't mind that. That wouldn't bother me, but I just thought that was a fun little wink. But notice Otto Hightower is there being like, oh yeah, and then he starts being super manipulative, and he's like, I remember when my wife died, and if I think they're going to come out and say that he killed her. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I think that he killed his wife. I don't know. He did something to his wife because something weird's going on. Don't make your daughter dress up like your wife. It's weird. But either way, he starts going like, oh yeah, I can't imagine what it would be like to have to marry for duty. He's really laying it on thick, and you're like, okay, Otto Hightower, chill. But he's like really pushing him to like, I wish someone was there for me in my grief. And it's like, oh, you're pushing him right to your daughter. You know, we all know what's going on. Now, I do think one of the most compelling parts of the entire episode was Rhaenys and Rhaenyra talking. And I think this is like the first time you see like Rhaenyra straight up saying like, you can tell by the way Rhaenyra reacts to Rhaenys that she's like, I loved the polite shove it that they were doing where she was like, if you're trying to bait me, I'm not going to do it. And she's like, no, I'm legit talking to you right now. Like, do you think things are going to change? If it's not my daughter, do you think it's not going to be somebody else? Like, and she's I think that's the only time Rhaenys is genuinely being like, do you want some advice? Listen, I thought that was really good. And you get this old school versus new school thing going on, but then you get like, it's almost as if Rhaenyra's been told like, don't trust her. It's not that they didn't pick a woman. It's that they didn't pick her. And she's like, no, that's not it. So you got to remember this. So Corlys Valerian, not only his wife would have been the heir. So it went Rhaenys, the queen who never was, his dad, was on the throne. He falls. I'm going to just make it easy for you guys. They were like, you're a lady. No. So then you'd think, oh, does she have a son? Wouldn't he be next? Well, she did have a son. And they were like, no, we'd rather have him. And they put her cousin on the throne. So not only was Corlys' wife spurned, but so was his son. And eventually now his daughter is told, yeah, no, he said he's going with the Hightower girl. And everyone's like, what? A major part of why Corlys Valerian's like, I'm not on your side anymore, asshole, because he gets burned every time he tries to do the right thing. And then he's like, I think that actor did a really good job of having like angry face without having angry face, because he doesn't want his daughter doing this and stuff, but he's like, man, I even offered you that. Like, are you kidding me? And then when you just throw that in my face, like, man, I loved when she sticks it to Rhaenyra and is like, oh yeah, pouring their cups, because that's what I was saying the whole last review. I was like, I don't mind what they're doing, because once again, she's being looked at as, you're kind of useless, but you're important because of your last name, so we'll have you here. So I totally understand what they're doing, narratively speaking, thematically. I think that she thinks that Viserys is a fool, just not foolish enough to believe a woman is ever going to sit the Iron Throne. That's what she's saying. She's like, he's not a moron. He knows this is not going to last. And even Rhaenyra says it. She's like, he just did it to spurn Daemon, but then part of her wants it. And part of me is like, I think that Daemon sees a lot of himself in her. I think he sees a lot of the, I have to work for everything, I have to prove myself over and over again. I think there's a lot of things there. And they both have the blood of the dragon, for lack of a better term, because it's almost like when they describe the wolf's blood in the Starks, when you're reading the books, and Ned says Arya has it, my brother Brandon had it, Lyanna had it, they had the wolf's blood, where it's like, there's just something about them. And it's the same thing with, I feel like, Daemon and Rhaenyra. They're very close to their heritage, they're close to their dragons, they know who, they don't shy away from what they are, and Viserys does. And I feel like Daemon sees that in his niece. And speaking of Daemon, he snatches up an egg, and not only an egg, that's the thing, is like, it's not just him snatching an egg, that's the problem, it's that he snatched up the egg that was in the cradle with Viserys' son. All Targaryens back in the day would have an egg in the cradle with the baby so that they could be born together, and that's their dragon. Well, you purposely took the one that was with your son's kid, with your nephew, before he passed. And that's sending a message. That's saying, my son will be rightful heir. That's also why he was just going, nah, 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 nah. I'm going to marry who I want. I'm going to do what I want. But that's why it was significant that he took that egg. And that's why Rhaenyra was like, here's a chance to prove myself. Not only that, like she said, kill me and you take out half the problem. I'm the heir. I'm the one who took your spot. I didn't ask for it. Take me out. I'm right here in front of you. And he respects that. He's like, okay, I see you. And like I said, I think he sees a lot of himself in her. When they first told him about the egg snatch, I was like, you guys are really making it sound like Daemon came in here like a ninja and like snuck around. Like, I don't know if it really went like that. But either way, we got an egg snatching going on. And he goes back to Dragonstone. The fact that he's been calling yourself the Prince of Dragonstone, whoever is prince or princess or whoever's running Dragonstone is the heir. That's why Stannis is appointed to Dragonstone by Robert Baratheon, even though their ancestral home would be Storm's End, not Dragonstone. But he gave Dragonstone to Stannis because, outside of his kids, Stannis is the next in line. Whoever's holding that is a big deal. So by Daemon sitting at Dragonstone, doing what he wants, is like him just giving the middle finger to everybody. And nobody's doing anything about it. That's what they said. They're like, he's been there for 6 months. He's got a mini army with him. And now he's saying he's marrying some commoner and having babies. And I will say, I loved that woman's performance. That was great. And she jumped up to the top 3. I was like, wow, I really liked her. And she was like, no, I don't like, I think that they're buds. I think that her and Daemon genuinely like each other. I think that Daemon doesn't care for anything in this world. But if he could come close to that, it's probably his dragon and her. Like, because I thought it was very telling when they had him say, like, kids are gross. I don't want one. Like, screw that. Like, Daemon's not a nice guy. And I mean, not wanting kids, I don't know if I want kids. It doesn't make you a bad guy, but you don't need to call them filthy and disgusting and things like that. But I really liked her being like, don't drag me into your shit. Don't drag me into your political shit. And I really loved when she said, you do something and it's this. I do something and I lose my life. Like, I don't think you get it. I'm not trying to play games with kings. I'm no military master, but who said, do you want to know what we should do? Let's walk up this windy road of staircases where it's only, 3 of us across? There's no exit except for turning around and running. And we know there's a dragon. Notice also, I totally forgot about this, and I really thought this was telling. What did they call the dragon egg when it was taken? They didn't call it a dragon. They said he stole a dangerous weapon. Who killed the dragons? The Hightowers and the Maesters killed the dragons. I'm telling you, man, we'll talk about that in another video, but the Maesters and the Hightowers plotted to kill the dragons. They don't say he stole a dragon egg. They don't say he stole a dragon. They say he stole a dangerous weapon. But yeah, who said marching up the windy hallway was a good idea? I don't know. The whole time I was like, oh god, that was dumb. But cinematically, it was beautiful. And the design of Caraxes is so cool, like a sneaky serpent snake, so cool. And when they had it in the clouds, that was really awesome. And then when Cyrax and Rhaenyra pull up and you see the clouds start to part, that was really cool. And having each dragon on each side, I really loved that a lot. But that's where we finally see, and before that, Daemon and Otto's back and forth, and then him being like, Sir Crispin, right? Like talking shit to Kristen Cole. That was great. I love that, and it was awesome. But when we had the two dragons and then them talking, you can see it in Daemon where he's like, okay, this I respect. My brother, I don't. Daemon's girlfriend's face, though, when she looks at him, like, are you serious right now? And then Otto's like, I'll kill everybody out here, including her. You think I care? And Daemon's like, I don't care. Like, we just see how ruthless Daemon is. And then that's why she's so pissed. When they go back, she's like, not only are you dragging me into your shit, I don't end up like you do. And on top of that, I don't want to be involved in this. Like, sure, I like you, I like banging you, we have a good time, but I don't want to be involved in all this. And now you're directly involving me. Like, that's not cool. And then you put my life on the line out there. That wasn't cool. But we see how much Daemon don't give a shit. And I liked that a lot prior to Rhaenyra showing up. Rhaenyra calling the pregnancy bluff, where she was like, oh yeah, you're having a kid? Okay, and looks over at her like, we both know you're not pregnant. And once again, in front of everybody, she'll give the egg or Daemon will give the egg to Rhaenyra. He's not going to give it to Otto. You have to remember, like, this is Game of Thrones. All these people are going to go talk. These rumors are going to get spread. And he knows what it looks like. He knows exactly what was going to happen. He knew what would happen. He knew they would come. He knew he could make them look stupid or burn them alive. He knew he had the upper hand. And he just wanted to see how they would make it look. And so, let's just put it this way. Daemon knows how to play PR to the people. That's why the people love him. That's why the City Watch followed him to Dragonstone. He's the prince of the city. The fact that he's on Dragonstone and ruling from there, that's a big deal. And that's why Rhaenyra's like, I was crowned Princess of Dragonstone. You're in my spot. And I really did. I really enjoyed their back and forth. And not only that, like I said, it's cool seeing Daemon go, okay, I see you, and I respect it because you're not my brother. Viserys talks to Lord Lionel about Corlys Velaryon, and I did like what Lord Lionel had to say, because he's like, at first you think like, oh, this guy's really got a problem with him, and then he's like, no, I'm telling the truth. He's like, he's a proud man. He doesn't this, that, and the other. He's like, it's smart. And then he even says it. He's like, he's the wealthiest. He's the most powerful. It is what it is. That's a fact. And I like that they said it, because like I said, I didn't know if they were gonna like dance around that, but I'm like, no, that's a big thing, being the richest person in a country with the biggest army. That's kind of a big deal. And so we go into this final meeting thinking like, oh yeah, he's going to pick her, if you don't know the story. And then, yeah, last minute he picks this girl, and it's like, yeah, obviously she's there for a reason. And I liked that Corlys immediately stands up and is like, this is some bullshit. They had Rhaenyra handle it, though, because I do think that's how you would handle it. Especially at that age. You have to remember, like, this is like a young girl, and she'd be going, oh my god. Like, you'd be so mortified / angry, like, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a royal or, right, like, that would hurt and bother you. And I like that she just runs away almost in tears. It's like, oh. And so I liked the way that she handled it. But if you do notice, guess where Alicent is standing? And of course she would be standing there, but to the right hand of her dad, not Viserys, to her dad. When we cut to like all the sea creature stuff, I was like, oh my god, no way, they're going to show us Driftmark already. Which means Corlys and his fleet have already dipped. They dipped out. They're gone. They're at his castle, which means a lot of time's gone by. But when they first showed that, I was like, and I yelled it out to my mom. I go, oh my god, he's talking to Daemon. I was like, oh my god, he's talking to Daemon. And I loved him and Daemon talking. But notice even the way Corlys is talking to Daemon, he tames the way he's speaking. And I loved when Daemon said, watch how you're talking about my brother. I can say what I want about my brother. That's my brother. You're going to watch your mouth, though. And it's like, oh my god. And it just shows, like, yeah, Daemon's a lot of things, but the truth is he doesn't want anything bad to happen to his brother. He just doesn't want his brother to blunder everything. Corlys telling Daemon about the Stepstones situation. And like I said, the Stepstones, the only reason that they're really affecting anything is because they start affecting money and trade and ports all along the coast in one area. And it depends on what you're talking about, because it can go farther up, but like the Stepstones specifically, it's just like a little cluster of islands where it's like, no, they're a big deal, and they affect ports and money and trade and things coming in. And so yeah, a lot of people in that area are getting jacked up, and it's more than jacked up, and it's showing strength is what the East is doing. They're going, okay, let's see what you'll do. Let's see how strong you really are, Westeros. And they're testing them. And there's issues in the Stepstones throughout history. Like, they don't stop here, but this particular person, this crab feeder, is being paid by the top dogs of the free cities to go and do this shit. And so Corlys is like, okay, well, you already screwed me. You already screwed me. You already screwed me. Screw all of you. I'll go to Daemon then. And he goes to Daemon. And I'll let you guys guess what happens and who agrees to finally go and stop what's going on in the Stepstones. A little extreme when he said my house would be crippled. I don't know if that's totally accurate, but alas. Still, it would affect you hard. It would affect you definitely. And your people are getting jacked up, and you can't allow that to keep happening. I totally get it. I'm just saying crippled is a strong word. And Daemon really has had the greatest lines in this entire thing so far, right? When he was like, yeah, it never was my brother's strong suit. And he's like, what? And he goes, being king. Like, damn. Throughout history, the Stepstones have had tons of issues and things that have happened. Like, that's where the Blackfire Rebellion, years later, is shut down. And that is by the Mad King Aerys, before he's the Mad King, Tywin Lannister, Steffon Baratheon, which is Robert Baratheon's father. Who else is there? Who else is running around? We got, Geralt Hightower is running around. And, I mean, that's probably one of the only Hightowers I'm like, yeah, go you. The Blackfish, Brendan Blackfish is running around. Like, that was, like, the big thing. And a lot of people made their name there. But the biggest person to make their name there was Barristan Selmy, Barristan the Bold, who literally chopped his way through the entire military and then killed the person who said they were the rightful king, and he did it in front of everybody, and everybody was like, oh my god, look at this Michael Jordan of sword fights. So it's not like the conflict in the Stepstones ever stops really for a long time, but with this particular person, the crab feeder, they're gonna bring the fight to him, and it's gonna get wild. But all in all, I really liked this episode. I liked this episode a lot. I was, compared to last week, like I said, I really feel like we went back down to earth a little bit, and we're like, oh man, I remember it being gritty and rough down here. I totally forgot about this, and I think we were just so geeked up last week. Not that that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, but yeah, I was like, oh my god, we're really back in it now, aren't we? And I really enjoyed this, and I was like, oh my god, it can't be. It ended so fast to me where I'm like, oh my god, it has been an hour, hasn't it? But I liked this episode a lot. And I'm really sorry that my power's out, and I feel so bad. Like I said, make sure to tune in at 9 on Movie Lovers Unite over on their channel to watch us review The House of the Dragon, and then I'm going to try to have mine up on Mondays and Tuesdays too, but I really hope the power comes back, because this is becoming an issue, and like I said, I hope this goes up. But yeah, welcome to the new subscribers. I'm still doing my Predator 2 review. I got super sick, and then I had so many issues, but we're still doing the Predator 2 review. But yeah, no, hi to the new subscribers, welcome to the Penguin Gang. I feel so much better this week. And I've redone this like 3 times, this whole video, so I'm like, I hope I got everything in this time. But yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about stuff when you're like, okay, we kind of have to address the fact that, like, kids are being married off, and it's like, yeah, no, we all think that's gross, right? But then I'm like, okay, well, then I gotta talk about it. It's just a weird thing. It's like a hard thing to be like, okay, I can't tiptoe around it, but then you can't be like, this is cool. It's not cool. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm Abby. I'm on OF. I'm on Instagram. I'm on all this stuff. It's down below. My other review is up. But yeah. Tell me what your favorite part was, and tell me what you're excited to see. I'm really excited to see Vhagar. I really do. I think that's it. I'm assuming that's that big scarred up one, but there's a lot of fun little things in this. Do you guys want to nitpick it? We could nitpick it.